Welcome to the Mediabox. Yelyzaveta Yasko, rapporteur on the release and exchange of prisoners of war, specifically Ukrainian ones. Tell us, first of all, about some of the examples you looked at in your report, the conditions that these people are experiencing.
So there are a number of documentations of serious violations of the rights of the prisoners of war, which include even public executions. In the beginning of this year, UN, one of the UN bodies documented around 70 cases of execution. But of course, we understand that the numbers are much higher. Actually, the way to document and to see that is only through some footage that Russia is publishing themselves. So there is no way to see whether it's happening on every day or in other way. We have thousands of our servicemen just taking which goes against the humanitarian law, because in humanitarian law, prisoners of war actually become prisoners of war when there is the only way, in the war, just to become a prisoner of war. But it means that your rights will be respected, you will have a communication with your families, your identification will be known by the tracing bureau, but it's not happening. It's happening almost never, or when it happens, Russia decides what piece of information to share to ICRC in Russia, and that's the only information actually that is available, which is very sad.
Okay, and the resolution passed by this assembly this week calls for what exactly?
So for me, this resolution, of course, it's about the prisoners of war, but it's more about the political scene on what happens actually when we want to get these people back. Because if we compare prisoners of war to other groups like civilians or missing people or children, prisoners of war actually are the only group that are very regulated. There is Third Geneva Convention, everything is known, there are instructions of how they should be treated and how they should be exchanged and released, repatriated. But politically, it seems that there should be done so much more, that we should have mediators, there should be other member states helping to do that, because that instruments that are in humanitarian law, Russia doesn't comply with them. Which means that I'm calling in this resolution for every member state actually to take an action to try to facilitate within their governments, whether they can do something about it, when they maybe can establish some, I call it creative channels of communication on getting people back, whether it's prisoners of war or other groups. But I'm very grateful to those countries who are doing that. In the case of the prisoners of war, we have two countries that are helping us. That's Turkey and United Arab Emirates. They're helping and they succeed. And I think politically, that's something very interesting to analyze, because why these countries, how do they manage to do that? Well, there are other legal instruments, but the legal instruments are not working. And also, there is a very specific call for universal jurisdiction that can be used more to persecute the crimes that Russia is doing against the prisoners of war. And another call that is very important for me is actually to help legally, health-wise, medical care, to provide this help to these people. I think all member states can do something about it, but also to update the legislation about that. Because when you have thousands of prisoners of war, you need to amend your law. And I'm saying also about Ukraine, because we are doing this, but we need to do much more, because the challenges that they are facing are huge, and very often they cannot get the proper, let's say, health treatment just because it's not written in the law. So everything has to be amended. That's the new reality we live in, and this resolution calls to rethink the humanitarian law about the prisoners of war, whether we should demand certain things, because that's universal. You have prisoners of war also in other countries. You have in Israel, in Gaza, there was in Armenia and Azerbaijan. When there is a war or a conflict, there are always prisoners of war. But it looks like these instructions, these regulations that are in the third Geneva Convention are not working the way we would want them to work.
Yelyzaveta Yasko, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.